Okay, I'm still learning how to do this. Accidentally hit the wrong button, stopped recording. So I have worked myself around to the third corner, and I have just one more side cluster to put in here. It's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet for the corner, 3 double crochet in the next space, and we're going to do that side cluster. I will slip stitch into the first one that I made, which is right here, and I'll join that, and I'm going to tie off at this point because I want to join a different color to set off this green. But I'll show you the construction of the square. So now that the square has been built, you can see how the flower is very 3D, and you can see the defined corners of the square. There's the corners, and this is from the front, and if you turn it over, you can see the back where it was built up, and you have your chain 2 corners, you have your side clusters, and there are 4 even sides on this flower. The center of the flower, we've used those chain loops from the final round, and now we have this square established. Okay, we're going to go ahead and join a third color here. I had just grabbed 3 random colors, so it's going to be a little funky with the orange, with the peach, or the pink and the green, but it is what it is. So for the last 3 rounds, this is a 5 round square. So for the last 3 rounds, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use orange for this. So I've got 1, 2, this is going to be the 3rd round. I am going to start in a corner, and I'm going to start the way I did before, which is a standing double crochet, where I have the slip knot on my hook, I wrap the yarn, and then I bring it down through the corner, and I go ahead and start my cluster of three stitches. Now I start the corners a little bit differently. I start with the second half of the corner. So what you see happen here is you only see half of a corner built until I get back around, and it looks like that. Okay, remember, no chains between the corner and the side clusters. A lot of people online, especially Red Heart Yarns, every one of their patterns for a granny square calls for a chain in between each of the clusters. To me, it makes it loose. It's kind of sloppy looking. I don't like it when it's like that. And I have never made my granny squares with chains between them. I've always done it this way, and they always work out just fine. And they have plenty of room to work the next round of clusters. So as you see, I just worked that orange tail end with that, and it literally just disappeared into the back. I have no tail to tie off or sew in. I prefer doing that. I'm not going to lie and say that I like doing ends. I hate doing ends. I hate weaving them in. So if I can figure it out as I go, I do. So we're going to go ahead with our side clusters all the way around. We're going to get to the corner, and it's double crochet times 3 here. Chain 2, 3 double crochet back into that same corner, and just like that, we have completed one side on the granny square. One of the things that I had figured out a long time ago was, if you're trying to figure out how many rows of your granny square you've got, or rounds of your granny square that you've got, you can do this. You can count the number of clusters from one corner to the next, and it'll tell you. So we have a round in the center here, 2 rounds of the flowers, and then we have 3, 4, 5. This is 5 rounds of the granny square with the flower acting as 2, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters on a side. That tells you there's 5 rounds already made on this granny square. So if you were doing a plain granny square, you would need to make 5 rounds to equal the size of this granny square. I did try this out. It does work. So my theory works. I'm sure other people have figured this out through the years. As for me, I've always kind of been the curious kid who has always counted, always watched the stitches, etc., and always been kind of obsessed with numbers. So this is a perfect craft for me in the fact that I am always counting. So I'm going to continue around doing my corners and corners, side clusters in each of the spaces, and I'll join you back. Okay, I am back to the beginning where I started off with this orange, and I have worked 3 corners and the sides. I'm going to go ahead and complete this side cluster here with the orange. And then in the corner, we're going to go ahead and do 3 double crochet. And the way I join my corners on granny squares, yet one more little secret with me here. I chain 1 and I do a single crochet in the first double crochet here. What that does is it gives me a sharp corner, as you can see, and then I can go ahead and start with the next round and go chain 2 for my first double crochet, 2 double crochet, which is my first cluster of that stitch of that round. And you can see 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to continue around for 2 more rounds, so that we have a total of 5 rounds of the granny clusters, the granny stitch, and that will be the size of the granny square that I think is good for this particular flower. It covers it. It gives it plenty of room to shine in its space, plus it gives you some room to work with when you want to make other granny squares to go with it. I was just looking at the size of this granny square, and it's going to be rather large with this other row of orange around it. So I'm going to stop after I get to the end of this round and call it good for this granny square, so that it's a good size, but it's not extra large or out of, the ordinary shapes that might be used for a blanket or whatever. So I've worked all of the stitches around, and back to the corner. We'll go ahead and do a 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then to finish it off, we're going to use the top of that chain loop, and we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet in there, finish that stitch off, which makes some sharpness to the corner. Chain 1, snip, pull it tight, and then I only have 1 end to weave in, because all of the other ends have been woven in as I've gone. So I will teach you a lot of my ways of cheating the system. It plain and simple, I'm too busy doing things. I've got a lot of things going at the same time, so I'm trying to get things done as quickly as possible. What I would call this is like a 1970s inspired color palette. There's the green and the orange and this very pink, like mauve pink color, something you might see from a 1970s living room, but also kind of Halloween inspired, which Halloween is my favorite time of year. And the back of this granny square looks like this. So you have your flower in the center that acts as the first round of your granny square. Then you have your 2 rounds of petals. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds for this granny square. And if we count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Am I counting that wrong? 2, 4, 6. No. So again, I've misspoken, but we we are counting these 2 rounds of petals as 2 rounds of the granny squares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds on this granny square. Okay, everything is fastened down nice and tight. The flower is very three-dimensional. The petals are very consistent, and it makes it look very nice and clean around there. The colors, well, they could probably do with some changes, but I like the way that they kind of just show off. The green makes it look like a row of leaves. So there's a lot you can do with a granny square. This is just one example. This flower pattern, again, I had to revise it and make it work for us. In the original pattern, it only had 6 petals. It was not very, it didn't work very well from the directions. So just to keep things very nice and straight, I went ahead and added 2 petals, figured out the math, which was pretty easy. You need 4 sides to make a granny square. And if you have 6 sides, there were people in my class who were ending up with triangles. And it was very cool, but it wasn't the way the pattern was meant to happen. So we figured that out. We saw a need, we figured it out. And this is the flower granny square. No pattern down here because the pattern that I originally used for this did not work for us. So I revised it, and hopefully you can follow this. And thank you for giving me grace. I'm still learning how to use this YouTube channel. I'm still learning how to do the videos. And I just want to point out, as you can see, there are no chains between these side clusters, but they still had plenty of room for the second row of, or the next row of clusters. So it's just a matter of trusting yourself, knowing what you can pull off. It's very flexible. There's nothing's too tight, and I just have a really good tension, I think, because I'm so used to working with yarn for all these years that my tension just is normal. For me, it always works. So here's once again the back, 6 rows of granny square, and the front, 2 rows of flowers, counting as part of the granny square makeup. 1, 2, 3. Then the 4th row is green. The 5th row, the 3rd row is green. The 4th row is green. 5th and 6th rows are oranges. And I am going to take some medicine and go to bed. I have a cold. Thank you for watching. I will continue to improve this channel, and I will continue to do videos that my students have asked me to do, and also that I think are relevant to this channel, which is devoted to crochet. Have a good night, and thanks for watching.